Hey friends, I am Jackson. Welcome back to Jackson English Stories. If this is your first time here, I am really glad you found this video, and if you have been with me for a while, thank you for being part of this journey. This channel is all about real English, not the kind you memorize. Not the kind you fake to sound smart, but the kind you feel, the kind you live. The kind that stays with you after the video ends. Before we go deeper, I have a question. Where are you right now? Are you watching this on your phone while cooking, or maybe you are lying in bed with one earbud in? And what time is it for you? Morning? Midnight? Leave a comment. Seriously, I read every one of them and it helps me feel like we are really connected. All right, you understand English? You really do. You watch the shows, you read the subtitles. You know the meaning of every single word, but when someone turns to you and asks a simple question, nothing. Your brain freezes. Your body tenses, and somewhere deep down, a voice whispers, "You are not ready." But you are. You just do not believe it. And that is where the real story begins. Because this video is not about grammar, it is not about memorizing phrases. It is about that invisible moment, the space between understanding and responding. It is about why you feel so fluent until it is your turn to speak. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt this? You are sitting in a conversation. English is flowing around you. You understand every word. You are even smiling, nodding, laughing at the right moments. And then someone asks you, "What do you think?" Boom. Silence. Not because you do not have a thought, not because you do not know the words, but because something inside locks. That silence, that pause, it is not about vocabulary. It is about connection. You see, most people think fluency means knowing more words, more grammar, more practice. But what if I told you the real problem is not lack of knowledge? It is lack of belief. This is not a language issue. It is a human one. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not behind. You are just afraid to be seen, to be heard. Because when we speak, truly speak, we are not just using English, we are revealing ourselves, and that can feel terrifying. But here is the truth. You cannot connect without the risk of being misunderstood. You cannot be fluent without being a little messy, and you cannot grow if you are always trying to be perfect. So today, for the next hour, let us do something different. Let us stop performing. Let us stop pretending. Let us stop trying to be correct. Instead, let us feel. Let us fall. Let us speak from the part of you that wants to be heard, not the part trying to impress, because that is where the real English lives. This is Jackson. Welcome to English that feels like you. There is something strange, almost cruel, about understanding a language, and yet feeling completely voiceless in it. It feels like this. You are standing behind a glass wall. The world of English is on the other side. You see the words, you follow the rhythm. You even get the joke before the punchline lands. But when it is your turn, when the spotlight casually shifts in your direction, nothing. Not because you do not know what to say, but because something, invisible, quiet, powerful, holds you back. And that wall, it is not made of grammar. It is not built from mispronounced vowels. It is made of fear. A fear so subtle, it wears different masks. Fear of sounding foolish. Fear of saying something wrong. Fear of being misunderstood, or worse, being understood and not accepted. Let me tell you something I have never said out loud. I used to rehearse entire conversations in my head before I spoke, every sentence carefully crafted. I even practiced my reactions, the smile, the nod, the little to show I was following. In my head, it sounded flawless. But the moment I had to speak, my tongue turned into stone, and that glass wall, it thickened. You know what made it worse? People trying to help, but not really helping. Just talk more. Come on, do not be shy. Practice makes perfect. They meant well. But no one told me how to handle the pressure building in my chest. No one taught me how to breathe through the panic, how to deal with the fear that, if I opened my mouth, I would be exposed as a fraud. The truth? I was never afraid of English. I was afraid of being seen. Because speaking, truly speaking, is not just about forming correct sentences. It is about revealing the messy, uncertain, beautifully complex human behind them. And most of us, we were never taught how to be seen. That is the part they forget to teach. Fluency is not about speed. It is about freedom. Freedom to say something imperfect and mean it. Freedom to pause mid-sentence and still feel worthy of being heard. Freedom to stutter, to stumble, to start over without shame. So here is something I want you to try. Next time you freeze, do not push it away. Stay there. Notice the feeling in your chest, the heat in your face, the tightness in your throat. Do not fight it, name it. Say, in English, I am afraid I will mess up. Say, I am scared they will not understand me. Do not say it to impress, say it to express. Because naming fear is the first step to dissolving it. Fear hates being called out, and that glass wall, it will not shatter all at once. But piece by piece, with every honest word, with every brave pause, your voice will start to seep through the cracks. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, you will step through. Now I want to ask you something. What is the sentence you have always wanted to say but never did? What is that one English phrase you keep inside because you are afraid it might come out wrong? Type it in the comments. Let it be messy. Let it be real. That is how we begin. All right, let us keep going. Let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to script a real conversation? Word for word, emotion by emotion. You sit down. You write it out. You rehearse it like a scene in a movie. You tell yourself, this time, I will be ready. And then, the real moment comes. Someone speaks, and your mind goes blank. Why does that happen? Because real conversations are not scripts. They are not linear. They do not follow your plans. They twist. They turn. They breathe. They surprise you. And that unpredictability is what makes them terrifying and also profoundly beautiful. You see, when you memorize, you are trying to protect yourself. You are not preparing to connect. You are preparing to control. Control the words. Control the reactions. Control how you are seen. But language, especially when spoken from the heart, refuses to be controlled. It needs freedom to flow. To stumble, to reveal the human behind the accent. I remember doing this all the time. If someone might ask, "Where are you from?" I had my perfect line. If they asked, "What do you do?" I had a polished answer ready. But then someone would look at me and ask, "What makes you feel alive in your city?" And just like that, I would freeze. There was no line for that, no script, no safe reply. Just the raw truth, and a fear of messing it up. And that fear, it builds a wall between what you feel and what you say. Here is what I eventually realized. Perfect answers do not create connection. Honest ones do. Yes, even the ones with broken grammar. Even the ones that take too long to say. Because people do not remember your tenses. They remember your presence. The moment I stopped trying to sound right and started trying to sound real, everything changed. Conversations stopped being tests. They became moments. Unrepeatable, unexpected, alive. So here is a thought for you. You are not an actor reciting a script. You are a person living a moment. and real moments. They are meant to be lived, not memorized. Next time someone asks you something you did not prepare for, breathe, smile, say, "That is a beautiful question. I need a second." Even native speakers do that, especially the thoughtful ones. And here is a powerful truth no one tells you. You do not need perfect English to make someone feel seen. You just need the courage to be seen yourself. Now let me ask you, and I want you to really sit with this. What is one question you always fear being asked in English? Is it too personal? Too deep? Too unexpected? Write it in the comments. Even if it scares you, especially if it scares you, that is where your story begins. Let me tell you something I used to believe, with all my heart. If I just listened more podcasts, more shows, more songs, I would wake up fluent. I pictured it like magic. Put on my headphones, close my eyes, let the English flow into me, fall asleep as a beginner. Wake up, transformed. But real life? It laughed at that dream. Because I did listen, a lot, and yes, my comprehension improved. I recognized more words, I could follow faster conversations, but when it came time to speak, still frozen, still panicked, still unable to express what I actually felt. Why? Because passive listening is like standing outside a house and thinking you live there. You see, understanding the words is not the same as being inside the moment. Real conversations are not about hearing English. They are about feeling it. Think about this. You can watch a whole English movie, catch every line, and still not feel the emotional punch. Because fluency is not just about decoding, it is about absorbing. Let me tell you what happened once. I was on a train, headphones in, listening to a podcast between two friends. It was light, funny, natural, and I thought, this is it. I am finally fluent. But then, later that day, someone asked, "What was the funny part?" And I blanked. Not because I did not hear it, but because I had not felt it the way they did. And that gap? That is where the real work begins. Because language is not just made of grammar. It is made of energy, of tone, of silence, of subtext. There is a world of difference between "I am fine" and "I am fine." Same sentence, different meaning, different weight. And if you are only training your ears to catch vocabulary, you will miss everything underneath. Let me show you something else. Someone might say, "Yeah, I guess that is just how it is." Grammatically, easy. Emotionally, that sentence might carry disappointment, resignation, even grief. You cannot memorize that. You have to feel it. That is what fluency really means. Not just knowing what was said, but sensing why it was said and how it landed. So, how do you train for that? Not by listening more, but by listening differently. Turn off the subtitles, listen once, just once, and ask, what is the mood here? What is the dynamic between the voices? What changed in the speaker's tone when the topic shifted? Then go back. Write down one sentence that stayed with you, not because it was new, but because it hit you. And then, say it out loud. Try to carry the emotional rhythm of the original speaker. Try to own it in your voice, because the goal is not to sound native. The goal is to sound true. Let me leave you with this. Fluency begins, not with the ears, but with the heart. So tell me, what is one sentence in English you heard recently that stayed with you? Not because it was perfect, but because it felt real. Type it in the comments. Let us stop learning with our minds alone. Let us start listening with presence, with feeling, with soul, because that is how sound becomes story, and how story becomes voice. Have you ever listened to someone speak in English, and even though you understood every word, something still felt off? Like the meaning was just out of reach, floating behind the sentence, hidden beneath the tone. Yeah, that That is the moment your brain is reaching for logic, but your heart is craving connection. Because listening, real listening, is not mechanical. It is emotional. Let me break that open for a second. We are taught to treat listening like data entry. Sound goes in, meaning comes out. But here is the truth. You are not a machine built for flawless translation. You are a human built for empathy, for rhythm, for energy, for those invisible signals between words. Think back. The last time someone said something kind to you, or something cruel, or something strange, you did not just hear the message. You felt it. Maybe your heart skipped. Maybe your shoulders tensed. Maybe you had no idea why, but something inside shifted. That is emotional listening, and it matters more than you think, especially in English. Because English, like every living language, has a pulse, a musicality, a tension and release. A silent drum beneath the grammar. And if you are only focused on catching vocabulary, you will miss the music. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman I used to practice with. She was flawless on paper, slow, clear, grammatically perfect, but listening to her was like reading an instruction manual. Precise, but hollow. Then one day she laughed, just one laugh. And suddenly, I heard her. Not the English, her. That moment hit me hard, because I realized I had been listening for accuracy, but what I really wanted was life. Here is something strange. The more you obsess over every word, the more disconnected you feel. But when you stop analyzing and start absorbing, you begin to feel the emotion behind the English. The moment you do that, your entire relationship with the language changes. So here is a little challenge. Next time you hear English in a show, a podcast, a conversation, ask yourself, what is the emotional texture of this moment? Is it light? Is it guarded? Is it quietly breaking? Try to name it. Not the words, the feeling. Because once you name it, you start recognizing it. And when you recognize it, you start responding to it. And that, my friend, is emotional fluency. Not just saying the right thing, but saying the thing that feels right. Let me ask you something. What emotion do you still struggle to hear in English? Is it sarcasm? Regret? Love? Write it in the comments. Even if you only know how to describe it in your native language, start there. Because naming it is claiming it. And once you claim the feeling, you will start hearing it. You will start speaking it, and that is the shift from passive understanding to living inside the language. Let us take that step together. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever been in a conversation where you understood everything, and yet you still felt like you were chasing it? Like the words were clear, but the moment had already moved on. That right there, that delay, is what I call missing the beat. Because English, like every living language, is not just what is said. It is when it is said. How fast. With what breath, with what rhythm. It is music. And if you cannot feel the rhythm, you cannot join the song. You know that feeling. When you try to dance to a new song, your body wants to move. But your timing is off, one step late, always chasing the next beat. It is not that you cannot dance. It is that the rhythm has not entered your bones yet. Same with English. You know the rules, the sentence structures, the polite responses. But you have not internalized the flow, the rises, the hesitations. The beats of breath between emotion. That is why you freeze, because your voice is ready, but your timing betrays you. Let me give you a real-life moment. Someone turns to you and asks, "So, what do you think?" And inside your head, a storm begins. I believe that, wait, no, I should say, what is the right word? But by the time you find your sentence, they have already moved on, and it stings. Not because you did not know the answer, but because the beat had passed. It is like trying to jump into a rope that is already spinning. You pause. You hesitate, and suddenly, the window is gone. That hesitation. That is where confidence crumbles. So how do you fix it? Not with more vocabulary. Not with better grammar, but with rhythm. Train your ears, not just for meaning, but for movement. For tempo, for emotional speed. Listen to real English, not textbook sentences. Listen for the shifts, when people speed up, when they pause mid-thought, when they drop their voice because they are unsure, or when they interrupt because they are excited. That is the music beneath the message. And your job is not just to understand it, but to move with it. Try this. Shadow a real conversation, not a script, not a lesson. But messy, human, emotional English. Repeat it, not for accuracy, but for alignment. Not to echo, but to sync. Let your breath match theirs. Let your pacing mirror their shifts, because fluency is not a grammar test. It is a duet. Let me ask you, what part of the conversation do you usually miss? Is it the opening question? The joke? The chance to jump in? Write it below? Let us find the beat you keep missing, so we can help you step into it. Because when you catch the rhythm, you are no longer just speaking English. You are in it. Dancing with it, living inside the moment, not chasing it. And that is what real fluency feels like. Some words do not just pass through you, they settle, they echo. They bruise, even when they sound simple, even when they are meant casually. You ever had someone say something in English, and it hit harder than you expected? Like, relax, or you always do that, or wow, that is your opinion? The words are basic, but the impact, unexplainable. Your chest tightens, your throat dries up. You feel smaller, but why? It is not about vocabulary. It is about the emotional residue behind the voice, the tone, the timing. The memory it awakens. Because language is not just a tool for communication, it is a trigger for identity. And sometimes, English does not hurt because you misunderstand it, but because you understand it too well. Let me tell you what happened once. Someone looked at me, smiled gently, and said, "You do not have to explain yourself." They meant it kindly, but it shattered something in me. Because for years, I had needed to explain myself. Every sentence was proof that I belonged, every word, a bridge to acceptance. And suddenly, that bridge felt unnecessary, or worse, invisible. Part of me laughed. I mean, really, who gets hurt by kindness? But another part cracked open. Because that sentence, though soft, touched a place still unhealed. And that place had no words, not yet. You see, when your emotions surge, your language often retreats. You freeze, you shrink. You go quiet because speech needs space. And when emotion floods that space, there is nowhere for words to land. But here is the paradox. The moments that silence us are the exact moments where our voice is most needed. So what do? First, forgive the silence. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are simply human. Second, name the sentence. Write it down. Say it out loud. Turn it from a wound into awareness. Let it become your teacher. Because every emotional bruise in English reveals something deeper, where your identity is still learning to breathe in this language. And that is where the real work begins. Try this. Think of one English sentence that stunned you, that made you go quiet, that made you feel misunderstood, or too visible. Write it in your notebook. Then write your honest response. Even if it is messy, even if it spills into your native tongue, then come back. Whisper your response in English, slowly, gently, truthfully, not to argue, not to win, but to reclaim, because fluency is not about overpowering silence. It is about transforming it into truth. Let me ask you, what is one English sentence that left a mark on you? Drop it in the comments, not to complain, but to connect. Because once you give your voice to that moment, you begin to heal it. You begin to speak, not just clearly, but courageously. And that is the bravest English you will ever speak. It was just a moment, nothing dramatic. No spotlight, no crowd, just someone looking at me, asking a simple question. So, what do you think? I understood every word. I knew exactly what he meant, and still, I froze. My brain flooded with thoughts. My body did nothing. Not because I lacked vocabulary, not because I did not have something to say, but because somewhere deep inside, I did not feel safe enough to be real. That is the strange part about fluency. It is not just about knowledge. It is about permission, the permission to be honest, to be messy, to be seen. But when English is your second language, that permission often gets taken from you by fear, by doubt, by the pressure to sound perfect, so you go silent. And in that silence, something inside whispers, "You are not enough. You are too slow. You do not belong here." But here is the truth. You froze, not because you were careless. You froze because you cared, because your words were not just words. They were pieces of yourself, and the fear of dropping them, clumsy, misunderstood, exposed, was too much. I have been there. In meetings, on dates, at dinners with people I admire. Someone says something beautiful, and my chest fills with response, but my voice. Nowhere, like a song I could hear in my heart, but not play out loud, like a letter I wanted to send, but never finished writing. So here is something I want you to try. Next time you freeze, do not run. Do not judge it. Just pause. Ask yourself gently, what exactly am I afraid of right now? Is it being wrong? Is it being misunderstood? Is it being too honest? Because naming the fear, that is the moment you start reclaiming power from it. Then, breathe. One deep inhale, one slow exhale. Now say something. Even if it is small, even if all you say is, "I need a second," or "I am still thinking," that one sentence, it keeps you in the room. It keeps you in the rhythm of the moment. Because freezing is not failure. It is the sign of someone who feels deeply. And feeling deeply is not a weakness. It is the foundation of everything honest. So let us reframe it. You did not freeze because you were weak. You froze because you were real. And that is courage in disguise. Let me ask you something. What kind of moment makes you freeze? Is it disagreement? Is it compliments? Is it speaking up in a group? Tell me in the comments, not to explain yourself, but to express what is true, because the moment you put words to your silence, you are no longer silent. You are alive, in English. And that, my friend, that is a kind of fluency grammar can never teach. You know that moment. Something happens. Your chest tightens. Your breath shortens, your heart skips, but your mouth says nothing, because emotions always arrive first. They do not knock. They do not wait. They hit, and often, by the time your brain finds the sentence, the moment is already gone. That is the silent war behind every conversation in English. It is not about grammar. It is not about vocabulary. It is about emotion, because your heart reacts in milliseconds, but your words, they need time, and when those two fall out of sync, you freeze. Let me paint the picture. Someone says, "I do not think that is true," and in a flash, your body responds. You feel a jolt. Maybe it is frustration. Maybe it is sadness. Maybe it is the sting of not being understood, but your words, nowhere. Because your mind is busy searching. What is the right thing to say? What sounds smart? What sounds native? And while you are searching, The conversation moves on. You are left behind, still holding a feeling that never got a voice. That is not a language problem. That is a timing problem. And it begins with this. You feel before you speak, always. So instead of racing for the correct sentence, try asking, what do I actually feel right now? Not what you think you should feel. Not what sounds polite, what is true. Now, say that. I feel nervous. I feel ignored. I feel unsure what to say. These are not advanced phrases, but they are fluent, because real fluency is not sounding smart, it is sounding real. Wait. Think about that. The moment you name the emotion, you reclaim it. The silence breaks. The pressure loosens, and your words begin to arrive, like a stream finding its path. Like a voice clearing through fog. Next time you freeze, pause, breathe. Listen inward. What is happening inside before the words come? Then speak from there. Even if your grammar stumbles, even if it feels too raw, because truth, even broken, resonates more than perfection without feeling. Let me give you a small challenge. Think of one time, in English, when you said nothing, not because you did not know the words, but because you could not get them out. Now go back. What were you feeling? Write that down. Then try expressing it in English, not beautifully, not academically, just honestly. Then share it in the comments, because the more you practice speaking from emotion, the more your English becomes a part of you. And one day, someone will ask, "Are you okay?" And this time, you will not freeze. You will speak, not from memory, but from truth. And that is fluency too. Most people think listening means turning your ears outward. You listen to podcasts, to songs, to voices on a screen. But let me ask you something different. Do you ever listen inward? Do you ever pause, just for a moment, and hear the English inside your own mind? Because here is something most language learners miss. Before you can speak clearly to others, you have to speak clearly to yourself. And that starts with silence, with presence. With inner listening, there is a voice inside you, soft, unformed, often ignored, not because it is weak, but because the noise of fear is louder. I used to think my problem was knowledge. I do not know enough grammar. I need more words. But the real issue? I never listened to the English I already had. I rushed. I pushed. I skipped past the moment where thoughts become language. Wait, have you ever heard your thoughts in English? Not forced. Not memorized, just arising? Try this right now. Close your eyes. Ask yourself, what did I feel this morning? Then wait. Let the words surface. Do not rush. Do not edit. Just notice how your mind starts to form the answer. That is internal listening. It is not a performance. It is a practice. And it is powerful, because when you learn to sit with your thoughts in English without judgment, something shifts. You build a fluency that is rooted, not in perfection, but in presence. Here is a habit that changed me. Every night before bed, I ask myself one simple question. In English, what did I learn about myself today? Then I answer, out loud, just once. No audience, no pressure, just me, and the voice I am learning to trust. At first it felt strange, but slowly something beautiful happened. That voice inside, the one I used to hide, started sounding more natural. More confident, more me. Because fluency is not only about communication, it is about alignment between what you feel and what you say, between the truth inside and the voice outside. So if you want to speak better English, start listening to your own English, literally. Create silence. Ask something real. Then let the answer rise, like breath, like memory. You will be amazed at how much language you already carry within you. It is not missing. It is just waiting to be heard. So let me ask you, what is one question in English that you could ask yourself every night? Type it in the comments. Maybe someone else will try it too. Maybe that one sentence will become your anchor, because fluency is not built in noise. It is born in stillness. One honest moment at a time. Let me tell you something it took me far too long to understand. Correct English is not always real English. Sounds strange, right? Especially if, like me, you were taught that grammar is everything. That if your sentence is not perfect, it does not count. So, I studied the rules. I memorized structures. I corrected everyone, even when they did not ask. And yes, I scored high on every test. But when it came to real conversations, I went silent. Because real life is not a grammar exercise. It is messy, emotional, unpredictable. People interrupt themselves. They forget words. They start with so and end with silence. That is real language. That is how we live. But when you obsess over correctness, you filter your voice through fear. You become so focused on how to say it that you forget why you were speaking at all. I will never forget this. I was sitting in a cafe, a close friend across from me crying. She had just lost someone. And I wanted, more than anything, to say something comforting. But all I could think was, do I use past perfect here? Or simple past? By the time I found the right form, the moment was gone, and so was the connection. That is when it hit me. No one remembers the grammar of a sentence that made them feel seen. They remember the feeling, because correctness without connection is noise. But honesty, even unpolished, is music. So what if someone says, I not know what say, but I hear? Is it grammatically accurate? No. But it is fluent in emotion, and sometimes that matters more. Wait. Let me say that again. Sometimes, emotional clarity is more important than verbal precision. Now do not get me wrong. Grammar is valuable. Clarity helps, but grammar is a tool, not the goal. The goal is resonance. To be heard, to be understood, to be felt. So here's what I want you to try. Instead of aiming for perfect, aim for present. Say what you mean. Now. Say it better. Later. Because fluency is not built in silence. It is built in continuing, even through fear. You can fine-tune your grammar, but you cannot build confidence if you never speak. So speak. Speak when it is raw, when it is unsure, when it is cracked, but honest, because your voice, it matters now. Fluency does not begin when you feel ready. It begins the moment you stop waiting. Let me ask you, was there ever a time when being correct held you back from being real? Share that moment in the comments. Someone else might be feeling the same. And next time, say it anyway. Say it trembling. Say it unpolished. Say it you. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever spent weeks, maybe even months, memorizing English phrases? And then, when the moment finally came, you said, nothing. That is not because you are lazy, or broken, or unprepared. That is just memory. And memory, my friend, is fragile. It is like carrying a suitcase full of perfect words, but when you need to open it, the zipper gets stuck. Now contrast that with this. You are walking down the street. Someone bumps into you. You say, sorry, you did not memorize it. You did not hesitate. You just said it. That is momentum, and that is the difference most learners miss. They chase memory. They cram vocabulary. They stack grammar rules like books on a shelf. But language, it does not live in your memory. It lives in your muscle, in your rhythm, in your breath. Think of a dancer. She does not calculate every step as she moves. She lets the music carry her. She trusts the flow. Now imagine trying to dance while reading choreography off a page. You would trip, you would freeze, you would miss the beat. Same with English. You cannot pause life to ask your brain, wait, was that the present perfect or past simple? Because by the time your mind catches up, the moment has already passed you by. Wait. Let me say that again. Memory is not fluency. Motion is. So, what do? We build momentum, tiny repetitions, simple sentences, spoken out loud, every single day, not for accuracy, but for activation. You stop studying English, you start living it. Say it while brushing your teeth. I am tired today. Say it while walking. I need to send that email. Say it while staring out the window. I wonder what she is doing right now. And over time, your brain stops retrieving words. It starts releasing them, because they are no longer locked in memory. They are in motion. Here is a tool. Anchor phrases. Short, flexible, repeatable. Like, I am not sure, but... Let me think. Can you say that again? These give you room. They keep the rhythm alive, because real conversations are not performances. They are dances, and your job is not to be flawless. It is to stay in the movement. So stop collecting words like rare coins. Start spending them like energy. Momentum over memory. Always, here is your challenge. Today, speak English out loud 3 times to yourself. It can be anything. Your grocery list, your mood, your dream. Just speak, even if the words stumble, even if the grammar slips. Because confidence is not built on silence. It is built in sound. No perfection. No pause, just momentum. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you had a real conversation in English? Not for homework, not for a test, I mean in life. Face to face, heart to heart, messy. Honest, unscripted. For many people, the answer is never. Why? Because we wait. We wait for the perfect moment. The perfect accent, the perfect version of ourselves. But here is the truth. Real conversations do not wait for perfection. They just happen. So if you want to be ready, you cannot keep English on a shelf. You have to live inside it. Not once a week, not just during lessons, but daily. Quietly, everywhere. Let me show you how. These are not fancy apps, not grammar handbooks, just 5 tools that helped me make English part of my life. Voice notes. Every day, I recorded 1 minute of myself speaking English. Just thoughts, random, out loud. Not to publish, not to show off, just to hear myself think in English. Sticky notes. I turned my apartment into a conversation. The mirror said, "You got this." The fridge whispered, "What do you really need?" It was not just vocabulary. It was identity. Conversation prompts. I kept a short list on my phone. What surprised you today? What is one belief you never say out loud? When I met someone who spoke English, I was ready to connect. Reflection journal. Each night I wrote 1 sentence about how I felt, in English, not a diary. Just honesty, like, I felt invisible when nobody asked how I was. I gave my emotions words. Audio shadowing. I picked voices I admired, storytellers, podcasters, teachers. I repeated their words, their pauses, their emotions, until their rhythm became mine. These tools, they are not impressive on the outside, but they are transformational on the inside, because they turn English from something you study into something you breathe. And when English lives in your breath, it becomes part of your thinking. You do not need perfect grammar. You do not need to move abroad. You just need presence and a little courage, 1 sticky note, 1 voice message, 1 shadowed line. That is how fluency is born. Not in bursts, but in layers. So here is your challenge. Pick 1 tool. Use it today. Which one speaks to you? Type it in the comments. Because the moment you stop waiting, the moment you try, You stop being a student of English. You become someone who lives in it. Let us build a life inside this language. One quiet habit at a time. Let me ask you something deeper. When was the last time you listened? Not to respond, but just to feel, not to show understanding. Not to craft a clever reply, just to be present with someone's words. Most people believe listening is passive, that it means staying quiet, waiting your turn. But real listening, it is presence, it is attention with no agenda. It is giving someone the invisible permission to unfold. When I first started learning English, I treated every conversation like a test. While someone was speaking, I was building my answer piece by piece in my head. But here is what I learned the hard way. The more I focused on my reply, the less I actually heard. Because real conversations are not races. They are not battles of speed or precision. They are spaces to breathe, to notice, to feel, and sometimes the most fluent thing you can offer is a pause, a nod, a small "I see," even just your eyes, fully present. Wait, let that sink in. The best English you speak might not be spoken at all. Because when you truly listen, with your full presence, you create something rare. Safety. You say it without saying, "I am here. You are not alone." And that is fluency too. I remember the moment it shifted for me. I stopped listening like a student. I started listening like a friend. I stopped asking, "What is the right thing to say?" I started asking, "What is this person really trying to express?" Because language is more than grammar. It is breath. It is silence. It is the tremble just before truth is spoken. So here is the practice. Next time someone speaks to you in English, pause. Listen with your body, not your brain. And if you do not know what to say that. Say, "I am listening." Say, "Take your time." Because in that small sentence, you give the other person a gift. Presence over performance. And in that quiet space, connection happens. You do not just understand their words. You feel their story. You become part of it. And that is the kind of fluency no grammar book will ever teach you. It is not about speaking more. It is about hearing deeper. So today, listen like a friend. And watch what opens. So now, here we are. You have walked with me through silence, through rhythm, through fear. You have heard stories that felt a little too familiar. You have remembered truths you never said out loud. But now, it is your turn. Because no video, not even this one, can speak for you. And fluency? It does not happen in the listening. It happens in the risk. In the breath you take before you speak something real. So here is what I want you to do, right now. Wherever you are, say one true sentence, in English, not perfect. Not rehearsed, just true. Maybe something like, "I want to speak, but I do not know how to begin." Or, "I feel afraid but also ready." Or even, "I am tired of waiting for permission." Start there. Because real fluency begins with vulnerability, not vocabulary. You do not need a native speaker in the room. You do not need a teacher. You just need your voice, the one you have always had, finally stepping forward. So, open the comments. Write one sentence, just one. Say something you have never said in English, not to impress, but to express. Say what hurts, say what heals, say what hides. And when you do, you will cross the line from learner to speaker, because English is no longer something outside you. It is inside. It is yours. This is not the end of a video. This is the beginning of a conversation, the one only you can start. So before you go, whisper to yourself, what are 3 words you want others to feel when they hear you speak English? Type them below. Say them out loud. Let this be the day your English stops being a subject and becomes a voice. I will be right here, listening. Always.